In your opinion, do you think that being in optimal health means that you or your children or your family would never get sick? Let's talk about that today. So, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Anjali, the founder of Back in Balance, and I am a non cracking, non popping chiropractor and integrative functional nutrition specialist. I love helping families and workplaces optimize their health by moving well, eating well, and living well. I'm especially passionate about helping families navigate the 5 trimesters of pregnancy from preconception to postpartum care. Let's dive in. So, as a mom of 2 young kids, sometimes they're getting sick, and sometimes I get sick, or my husband, or our family, and it can be a drag. Or maybe you've had this experience that I particularly noticed this when I was in college, or when I soon after I graduated, and when I was in practice, and I would have these kids coming in. You push through for finals, and then, or even in the workplace, you're pushing through, you have to get this deadline met, or you have to complete a project or a presentation, or whatever the scenario might look like. And you push through, you get through it, and then all of a sudden, then you have a break, or a little time for restoration, and then that's when your body just crashes, and then you get sick. So, a lot of times when I talk to my practice members about what their goals are, they will say, like, when we talk about optimizing health, the impression is that optimal health might look like never getting sick. And while that might be easier, or less frustrating to navigate, really, when we talk about optimal health, it's not about never getting sick. It's more about, at least in my opinion, it's more about how to navigate somewhat of an equilibrium, and so that when you do get sick, that it doesn't take you out of commission for days or weeks on end, but rather that it's kind of like this little blip on your health journey, and then you can bounce back and recover. So when we are completely asymptomatic, right? If I have a lot of people who come in and say, like, I haven't been sick in years, and while that might feel like a badge of honor, really what that can indicate is that our adrenal glands, or our bodies, are generally just living in this fight or flight or freeze mode, like we talk about in nervous system regulation. So if we're in fight or flight or freeze mode all the time, our body can't actually do the processes that it needs to on for general health. So while you might not get a cold or flu, you might actually be dealing with digestive symptoms, or respiratory symptoms, or cardiovascular or reproductive challenges, right? Because the all of the functions in the core get generally slowed down when we're under sympathetic stress, or that fight or flight or freeze mode. So you think about, if we were to encounter a bear, right? And that historical stress state, our body is not going to be thinking about digesting our food, or trying to reproduce, or trying to take nice deep breaths, because then we'll be in the shallow breath area. So we cannot oxygenate our body as well as we need to. And so if we're constantly living in that state of fight or flight, or when it's even more chronic, it becomes that freeze mode of where you're just kind of paralyzed or numb, or you really can't think clearly, you get into that brain fog space. So all of those can be indications that the core of our body is not able to function at its best. And so while you might not be getting sick, we might actually be challenging all of the core functions in our body. So what is the goal, and how we help our practice members is learning how to balance that nervous system so that it can be better regulated, so that we can get more into a zen state of parasympathetic rest and digest, so that our core functions can work more optimally. But we still want our bodies to be able to respond to stress, right? Every time I get a phone call or a message from one of the kids' schools, it creates a little moment of panic, because I don't know what's about to happen, right? I don't know if everything's okay, if somebody needs to get picked up, or I have that little moment of, okay, what is this message going to be about, or what is this phone call in regards to? And then the idea would be that once you hear it, or understand what the stress response is, that the body can go back into, like, okay, this is what I need to do, and go back into more of a rest and digest parasympathetic Zen like state. But we want our body to go through that experience. So, same with getting sick, right? We want our body to be able to expand for our immune system. We want it to be able to recognize that there's a pathogen present that we need to produce some natural killer cells to fight off and to handle that, to build our immune system resilience. So, I hope that the takeaway from this is that while it would be probably really nice to not have to get sick and deal with all of the things that it comes with, but allowing our bodies to get that rest and get that time for restoration for our core function is so, so crucial. But also being able to come out of that relatively quickly so that we don't stay in that state. So if this is intriguing to you and you'd like to learn more, please take a look at the link below where we help you navigate nervous system regulation. We have a variety of courses available. We'd love to chat with you. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.